everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti's, and we are going to talk about some herbs today. And what I've actually picked out are more barbecue herbs because it's summertime and we want to go to the barbecue, right? And cook on the grill 24/7. So lots of different herbs that you can try. I'm going to tell you, growing your own herbs are very easy. You just need a few things to make most of these herbs happy. Number one, most of them grow in a full sun condition. So 6 or more hours of sunlight is what you need, so direct sun. There are a few that grow in part shade well, like cilantro, dill. There's a few others, but for the most part, if you give them 6 hours or more of sun, they will be happy. The next thing is you can grow your herbs in a container or you can grow them in the soil. It does not matter. Either place is great. Just remember that your soil needs to be well drained. There are really no herbs that like to have wet feet, so make sure that you're letting that soil, if you used potting soil or a planting mix in your container, making sure your drainage holes are open, making sure that you're watering thoroughly, but of course letting that water come out of the drainage holes, and then repeat a thorough watering, and then wait and see how long it takes for that soil to dry in between. That's always a good thing to do. Out in the garden beds, it's a little bit different. You can always use a rain meter, a rain gauge, in order to check how much water you're getting. But typically, if you're planting herbs out in the garden or in a landscape bed, is fine too. But just make sure that they're getting 1 inch of water basically 1 time per week, and hopefully it's a deep, thorough watering. Okay, that's really the best way to go, and they'll be super happy. We love to feed our herbs, and of course we're going to use an organic fertilizer like garden tone, plant tone, even tomato tone you could use, no problem, and that would work for any of your herbs. So all those choices are excellent. Typically you would use it at the time of planting, and then also about once every, I would say about 4 to 6 months. Other than that, you know, with herbs, you've got to prune. So the more you prune, the more they are going to branch and produce more for you. It's the same thing with deadheading. You want to make sure if your basil is a flowering type of basil and produces flowers, make sure that you are picking off those flowers, deadheading, and using them. And of course, the basil flowers are edible. Most of your herb flowers are edible, so you can use them in salads and different dishes as well. You just don't want them to go to seed, because the energy in the plant will go to the seed development versus going to the foliage development. So that's why you want to make sure you're trimming, you're using your deadheading to make sure that these plants stay vigorous and actively growing, okay? Don't be afraid to prune. And when we prune herbs, we prune in the morning always. It's right after they've rested over the evening. They're really full of water, and that's when they're the best tasting. So make sure you do your harvesting in the morning if you can remember, but that's always going to work for you. Any of these herbs can be herbs can be used or dried, no problem. Fresh or dried, I meant to say. So whenever you need to use them, use them. And then if you have excess, that's fine. Let them air dry. Just wrap a rubber band or tie a piece of twine around them, hang them up in the garage or the pantry or what have you. Let them dry. You can take the leaves right off, put them in a glass container. That's always best to preserve them, and put them in a cool, dry place. Usually a cupboard, cabinet, pantry is where we usually store our herbs. We don't recommend plastic to store them because plastic will absorb their aroma and their flavor. So typically glass jar is the best way to go. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about barbecue herbs. So these are the ones that you want to keep close to the grill. And of course, I have oregano. Now, really, any oregano is going to work very well. Oregano is a perennial herb, and it's also a ground cover. This one was kind of growing up and off to the side. So when it was planted, it will eventually start trailing over this pot, just not right now. Oregano is pretty aggressive, pretty strong smelling, but I'm going to tell you, it works wonders in a container or in the garden, and it does produce little white to pink flowers on it that are edible. So if you do happen to see that occur, no problem. Just keep harvesting. And the more you harvest oregano, you can see at every node, it's gonna branch and produce 2 more stems. So keep on cutting and using. This plant in itself is a pretty good powerhouse of immunity. So oregano really does boost health. It has antibacterial qualities to it, antioxidant qualities to it. So it's really a great plant to have around, use and grow. And like I said, perennial from year to year to year, so you can keep it going. Next one, let's do dill. So dill's always fun. We can use dill on lots of different dishes, but I like it on chicken, fish, and of course, and all those summer dips and salads. You can let dill flower and grow to seed if you want to, if you like the dill seed and use it that way. But we like to harvest a lot of it and of course, pickle our cucumbers and all of those good things too. It is an annual, unfortunately, so you can keep those seeds and plant it next season, or you can just buy the plants every year and keep on replanting. The one I have in the middle is actually lime basil. And we had been asking our growers to grow this type of basil because it has such a pungent taste and smell to it, and super, super citrusy, limey. It is phenomenal. So in your marinades, if you're missing some lime juice, no problem, just cut some lime basil leaves and throw it in there. You're gonna notice a huge difference. This can be used in summer fruit salads, of course, summer leafy green salads as well, with cucumbers and salsa. So many different uses for the lime basil, so try it. I think you'll really love it. Basil's an annual, folks. You're gonna have to grow this one every year as well. You can bring it inside and grow it on the windowsill over winter, but it's just okay as far as wintering over. It has a tough time indoors. Chives. Chives are true perennial. They are in the onion family, but you get that mild onion taste from them. And again, being super healthy for you, the whole onion family is. So your garlic, your onions, your chives, all good for you. Don't be afraid to cut and use these plants. I'll tell you, you can use the flowers. They make beautiful decorations and salads and so forth. You can use chives with, oh my gosh, just about any type of meat, any type of veggie, and especially grilled potatoes. Oh, so wonderful. So use your chive plants. The only thing that I have to say about chives is sometimes in an herb combination, you have to watch that some of the other plants will get a little bit of a mild oniony taste. So sometimes we'll plant this on its own in a perennial garden and it works out great. Antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, like really good things about chives to grow out there in the garden. And I want you to know, if you grow chives and parsley together, sometimes it makes the parsley a little bit stunted. Keep your onions away from parsley and everybody will be happy. The last one on the back here, and I'm gonna turn this around, is rosemary. This is Tuscan blue rosemary. This is kind of a low ground cover trailing type. Really pretty, has some beautiful blue flowers to it. I'm gonna tell you, rosemary is one of my favorites, especially for grilling and barbecuing, because you can use it in marinades, sauces, cut it up fresh, or if you get a rosemary that produces long woody stems to it, like Garcia, that's a really good one. You can cut those, soak those, and use those as skewers through, you know, if you want to do shish kebabs or what have you, even just put a little piece of chicken, thin piece of chicken on it, and so wonderful when you grill. Rosemary, I'm gonna say, again, is very healthy for you. Lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, again, antiviral, I wanna say definitely antioxidant and stimulant, okay, used in teas and things for your memory. So that's always a good one. And I try to put it in my diet all the time so I can remember all of this stuff. The last one that I wanted to remind you about is, of course, parsley. And I really use curly parsley and flat leaf or Italian parsley interchangeably. Some people like one leaf type more than the other, and that's fine. To me, they taste the same. They just have a different texture to them. And I'm gonna tell you, with parsley, harvest, harvest, harvest. Always cut those stems down to the base as low as you can go. This is a biennial. And so what it does is the first year it produces all the foliage, and then the second year in the garden, it produces its flowers, which will eventually produce seed, will drop and usually develop in the garden on its own, or you can collect that seed and of course replant. So you usually see parsley coming back for 2 years in the garden, and then it reseeds. This plant, it just adds so much fresh flavor to anything that you're doing. It could be summer salads, it could be, fruit salad, it could be grilling items as well. So try your parsleys and use them. Obviously, there's a lot to be used here, okay? I think that's just about it for your barbecue herbs. Oh, I forgot to mention rosemary. Aha. Tender perennial in Northeast Ohio. So really, it does better if you can bring it inside for the winter, cool area, light it well, or provide some sun, but try to keep it on the cool side. So if you have a sunroom, that's a great place for it, where it's going to get plenty of light, but obviously lower temperatures in the winter. But it is more like zone 7, and it just doesn't quite winter over very well for us, unless you have a really good protected area, warm side of the house where you can really provide some good protection for it. So I think that's barbecue herbs in a nutshell. Enjoy your summer.